Good morning. My name is Professor Brooke Champagne, and I'm an instructor in the Department of English here at the University of Alabama. And I wanted to talk to you this morning about my experiential learning opportunity that I'm teaching here in the spring 2019 in my course entitled, it's the Creative Nonfiction Tour, and it's the 30 Days Writing Experience. So the overview for my course is that students will explore and write within several varieties of the creative nonfiction essay, including memoir, lyric essay, and profile. And the course, and this is really the meat of the course, I think, the way I've planned it, is that it will focus on experiential learning through an innovative 30 days project in which students will research a subculture that they're not familiar with for 30 days, they'll immerse for 30 days, and then they will reflect and write for 30 days. Ideally, those 30 days are not set in stone. They'll be researching all along, sort of immersing all along, and writing all along as well. But to put it into those terms gets them, I think, more of a focus for the class. And the course will culminate in the production of a self-published website about their experience. So some of the most important student learning outcomes based on this ELO is that students will research, immerse, and reflect on a subculture other than their own as a source of inspiration for their work. This really comes out of, in my experience of teaching creative nonfiction, students will often just stick with what's easiest, just stick with the personal, writing about their experiences, and there is a place for that, writing about their past in memoir. But what I've tried to do is say, this is a time when we can go out into the community, we can learn things about our surroundings, learn things about, maybe learn things that we wish that we didn't learn. You know, and I think that that's where learning comes through, is through that lack of safety a little bit, challenging ourselves. So that's what students in the class are working on right now. They will put together a polished portfolio of writing based on their immersion project, and students will learn about and participate in publishing and public performance opportunities for their work. How the ELO has assisted or will assist students in developing problem-solving skills. So these course requirements will force students, as I said before, outside of their comfort zones in order to speak, interview, and write about people and experiences that are unlike their own. So part of this course is, yeah, students will be going, working with different subcultures and speaking with people, performing sort of traditional interviews. We've talked about different ways in which they could do this. It can be, they don't have to necessarily tape record these things, but they will have to have a certain amount of sources and really talking to people that they are not necessarily friends with. For example, I have a student who is agnostic, and her real goal for this course is to ask herself why that is, and to go into some churches, synagogues, mosques locally, talk to different religious leaders and religious members and see what is it that inspires them. This weekend, actually, she'll be going to a Greek Orthodox church and speaking to some of the congregants there. So this is kind of part of what I'm asking them to do, is not necessarily do something that hopefully that isn't painful, but that is just something outside of their experience to see how does the world outside of me work, and how does that reflect who I am, and which is, by the way, what we want writers, strong writers, to do. Another area here, and this might go with what I was just saying, writing as activism. So creative writing students who typically stick to the personal will be combining that with research to write about bigger public ideas for a wider audience. And then finally, research skills, particularly field research, again, talking to people, and adapting to pitfalls that come with working with others. I have another student, just to give another example, who will be working on behalf of the trans community, working with the health center here to see if he might help procure I'm forgetting the term for it, but hormone replacement therapy for other students, because we don't actually have that resource here. other colleges of our size do. So part of his project is going to be researching why that is, talking to folks within health resources that might help with this, and writing about that experience, and writing about his experience with having to basically travel to Tennessee for hormone replacement therapy because our university doesn't have that service. So ideally, I want this to be something that is really helpful, not just to their lives, but potentially to others. I mean, that's kind of what they're doing here. So that's exciting stuff. The connections between the ELO and assessment of student learning. So writing and researching about subjects that are unlike themselves will also allow students to more accurately and creatively define who they are, which is, and I think I mentioned this earlier, the course of a creative nonfiction, the goal of a creative nonfiction course. And work toward the ELO, researching, interviewing, writing, will be refined and compiled on an ePortfolio webpage, which is a major graded component of the course. So, and this is always big. I think remaining challenges and ongoing questions are important with any ELO course, because we're doing all this innovative, fun stuff, but ultimately it's like as I'm in the middle of this semester, I'm looking toward the end point, but I don't know if we will achieve the things that I want to achieve. So for me, the thing that one small question that I have is I'm unsure about a public venue for sharing student writing in the course. I think that when students are sort of in the middle of a project, they feel, and I understand this because as a writer myself, I go through this as well. You feel that unease of, I don't know if I'm ready to share this because I'm still in the thick of it. So I do want them to get comfortable with saying, okay, I'm a writer, I want to share this. But at the same time, when they're in the middle of it, I don't really know exactly how that's going to work. And I know that I want them to, at some point in the semester, have a public reading. So I'm still in the process of procuring where that will be and how it will be done. But part of this is just, I want them to find buy-in I want the community also to have a buy-in to say, like, okay, the writing that these students are doing, their project, is important. So I think marketing that, all that stuff, that's something I'm not naturally a business-minded person or a marketing person, so I want to be able to sell this. I'm not quite sure how to do that yet. I've also considered the dilemma of having students either go too far with their work or more likely not far enough with their 30-day immersion. I have a colleague who did a course similar to this at another school that has told me that, you know, one of her students decided to go to, like, basically be in a wheelchair for a month and really, which that's bold and exciting, and also like caused like problems in his life that you know got in the way of courses and because he wasn't used to this. So that is, I'm not against if a student wanted to do that. That would be fascinating, but also I can see how I don't want this course to overtake anyone's life. At the same time, I don't want this to be just a vanity project where they're working, you know, for 3 or 4 hours a week. I want this to be something that they're really thinking about all the time. With students I've conferenced about this so far, they sort of do seem to be working on it a lot, thinking about it, taking notes all the time, researching a lot. So I feel positive that they're taking it seriously, but I'm kind of trying to figure out how they log their hours, basically almost like a service learning type thing, and keep themselves accountable, in addition to me keeping them accountable for their work. So this is a picture of my daughter, Mina, and I was told once by another colleague that it's always smart in a PowerPoint presentation to include a picture of a baby, and this is her questioning face. So at this point it would be a time where if you had any questions or we could discuss further, this would be a good time to do that. So thanks.